Florida State coach Mike Norvell has agreed to a one-year restructured contract that includes a $4.5 million contribution to help launch a new university initiative aimed at raising money for revenue sharing and facilities. So the money will go towards the Vision of Excellence fundraising campaign, which the school characterizes as a bold and immediate step forward in helping the overall student-athlete experience. Starting July 1st, each Division I school will be allowed to share at least $20.5 million in revenue with their student athletes.
Yeah, I love the way they put out these like memos. It's a bold new step. Yeah, you guys definitely aren't the first ones to think about putting money into the.
But it's the Vision of Excellence fundraising campaign.
Well, it's y'all need a vision because y'all are blind as Stevie Wonder right now, and I know a lot of Florida State fans agree with me. If you're going to, this actually makes me feel bad for Jim Harbaugh, because when they went and asked him for money, they're like, "Hey, we just need some of your money because you're just not winning good enough." Imagine if I was going to have to put my own money in, right? If I was going to have to, it's like the president who's like, you know what? I'm not going to take a salary. Give it to the homeless or whatever, that $250K a year, whatever. If I'm going to have to take a hit money-wise, I want my money going in to maybe make me some money on the back end. Go get me some players. Go get me some facilities. Go get me some cool, I don't know, VR stuff, some bowling alley that's glow in the dark. I don't care. But $4.5 million, you know how bad you had to screw up to have to pay that much? Like, I understand. Brian Kelly was like, all right, here's $1 million. You know, go get me 2 defensive ends. $4.5 million? Your ass definitely went 2-10. That's like the most. How do you come up to that number? He's like, God, it's Mike Norvell just like, they're so pissed at me right now. Like, God, 4.5. We can do 4.5, right? What's the con? That's a lot to give back, put back in the 10.
So, Blaine, is this just to go out and get really good football players, or was this just a punishment for 2024?
Feels like a punishment, right? It's not like Florida State doesn't have good football players. How much money has DJU cost Mike Norvell?
A lot.
A lot. Those gas station commercials aren't looking that great anymore. This is what happens when you miss on a quarterback. I'm sorry, you missed this bad and you started losing early. Not only did your team turn against you almost, your fan base turned against you, and you became a laughingstock. This team went undefeated.
Wasn't it worse than that, though?
It's much worse than 5 and 7.
I thought it'd be like 7 and 5.
Yeah,
DJ
like
that would be a floor.
It sounded like Florida State has bad
2-10. Something else happened.
Like
Dude,
if
you won 2 games, how did you beat Cal? Isn't that who they beat? Cal and Charleston Southern,
or whoever. Memphis.
I mean, it's one thing to be like, guys, 6-6. We're not living up to the Florida State standards. 2-10? 2-10, you call the cops.
And you beat Cal 14-9.
Yeah, I remember that game. How did Cal? What's that movie where he's like, what's our record? It's like, man, we're 7-17. He's like, how did we win 7? Like, that was just, it was awful from the jump. Y'all went over to Ireland and got 2-stepped.
By Georgia Tech.
And then Boston College beat you so bad you took their quarterback. To me, it's a lot. This is like, please don't. This almost, I wonder how that conversation went. Like, hey, listen, we got 3 options, really. 1, we fire you. We just fire you because that was awful. 2, we don't fire you. You got 1 more year left. You're on the hot seat. You better win big. Or 3, you still got to win next year. Maybe not as big, but it's going to cost you at least $4.5 million. That's how I feel like that conversation.
We're to the point now where coaches are giving up their own salary to buy a team.
Genius.
Yeah.
That's where we are now.
I mean, if I was a NASCAR driver and you were like, Jake, listen, if you give me a certain amount of money, I can get you the best engine. Okay, here, because I'm going to make more money in the back end.
But doesn't that speak to a problem in the market in the first place? Where the guys who were playing weren't getting anything, and that was you were able to inflate the coaches' salaries higher and higher because you weren't spending anything on the players?
Do you remember people were like, oh my God, the coaches have so many, like they can do so many more things than the players. They can go wherever. They can do this. It's so great for the coaches and it's so bad for the players. Like there's not a difference in like you being a player and then being like a coach. Just like the stock shelf boy at Walmart doesn't get to do what like the manager at Walmart does. Like it's just different positions. Now it's gotten so bad that the players can go wherever they want and the coaches are having to give their money back. Like, look, it was a bad year. Here's $2 million. Does that make you feel? What is that? What is the movie where he's like, what if I gave you money out of my wallet? Would it make you feel better? What movie is that? He's like, what if I give you some money?
Am I racist?
What? No, not am I racist. He's like, what if I gave you money out of my wallet? Would it make you feel better? That's, y'all know in the chat, What movie? It feels like Will Ferrell.
Like sooner or later, we're slowly just turning into the NFL. We're gonna have players making more money than coaches.
Well, it's
and you're not like what? It's like what is like a NFL? What is an NBA coach gonna say to an NBA player?
Well, Blaine, like
Can't coach them.
To me, I think the NFL's got more rules when it comes to player movement. This is free agency for every player at the end of every year. The NFL doesn't have that. Like if you have a contract.
If I'm Saquon Barkley and Nick Sirianni says anything to me, I'm just going to laugh and walk out.
What about Jalen Carter? I thought Jalen Carter was about to break Nick Sirianni in half yesterday.
Yeah, that whole situation. Was he yelling at Jalen Carter or was he yelling at a defensive line?
He was yelling at Jalen Carter. Jalen Carter like took a swing at a dude during a play. Like it was obviously a cheap play, and Sirianni didn't like it. Said something to him on the sideline, like walking off. I guess Jalen Carter said something to it. Then they pan off, and I look back. And Clint Hurt, I think's his name, the defensive line coach for the Eagles, or one of the defensive line coaches, who is not a small person, was in between Nick Sirianni and Jalen Carter trying to calm down Nick Sirianni. Which, listen, you're the head coach. You got to send a message that you're not scared. But, buddy, deep down, you know Nick Sirianni's scared, dog. Like, what happens?
I make more money than you. I'm not going to take you seriously.
Hey, what's up, YouTube? Appreciate you guys being here. Do us a favor. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Keep sharing the show. We appreciate it.